Okay, guys, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Okay, okay. Okay, so just to give you a reminder, tomorrow you have exam from 2 to 3. So the exam is basically a 45 minutes, but you can, yeah, so you can log in anytime between 2 to 3 and you will get exactly 45 minutes. So there are 10 questions and yeah, and yeah, hopefully you'll receive an email today from me or from the Moodle about the password and the link for the exam. So there are a few things like suppose there is some kind of a notation like lambda1, lambda2 kind of a thing. So if there is any picture, let's say well there is written lambda1, okay, or let's say alpha, whatever it is. So in the text it is mentioned and alpha because in the text, so I cannot write this lambda or alpha. So whenever something like, or maybe let's say a1, a2, ak. So instead of that, instead of this A1, you see that it is written as A1. And so let's say A1, A2, AK. So instead of that, it is written A1, A2, AK. Okay. So because I cannot write that in the text, like how to write this subscript, I don't know. Okay. So yeah, and maybe lambda somehow you may see like it is written as lambda. Let's say lambda 1, let's say, but it actually means the lambda 1, or maybe it is written alpha. Okay, alpha 1, let's say. So it actually means alpha 1. So this, you can understand this easily, but yeah, I'm just telling you. And another thing is all the units are bits. So maybe in some positions I may have forgotten to write. So anything is there. This is in terms of bits. So log is always base 2. Okay, so whether interrupt whatever you have with the calculations are there. So log is always of base 2. Okay, so then mutual information, whatever, all the quantities. So the base is always 2. Okay. Yeah. You have any question regarding the exam? And I asked him, okay, I asked him not to shuffle the questions and he said he will do that. So let's see what he does. But I told him especially not to shuffle the questions. Yeah. Do you have any question?
No, sir.
Yeah.
So we had one more test tomorrow of computer networks, and today or maybe tomorrow, yesterday night we got a mail like there is first year exams going on, so we are like that's postponed the exam. So like what I want to say is like confirm like we have a test tomorrow, right?
I didn't get it. So there is a first year exam, then that exam was postponed. The
No,
computer
actually,
networks exam.
yes, and the sir stated like because we have first year's exam on Friday, so can't conduct exam on that day, so he postponed it to next week. So that's what I'm saying. Like uh, something today, yesterday night only he mailed us.
Okay. No, so I spoke to the person today itself. So at around 12:30. So the guy from the Moodle, okay, who manages all these things. So he said everything is ready, and yeah. So I spoke to him. I also asked him that not to shuffle the question, this and that. So I think tomorrow's exam. We'll have tomorrow the exam tomorrow because I didn't say anything to me like that. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. And sir, I have one more question. That is of like in what we were doing in the last lecture. So I'm pretty confused about block this block coding tech. Like what? So what explicitly is block coding? Like it means the type of coding the channel coder do, right?
Channel. What is that?
Encoder.
Yeah. So what is happening is, yeah. Let me just begin then. So here you have
Sir,
your source
refers.
here, right? So
Hello, sir.
the source encoder. Source encoder. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. You're saying something?
Sir, yes, before starting, I have a question about the exam. For numerical answer
Okay.
type questions, up to what, how many decimal digits you have to take or write?
Yeah, you can. I think it is mentioned in the question. So in one question, I think only one decimal digit is required, and in other question maybe it is written 2. So you go with 2 or 1. If it is explicitly mentioned, then it is okay, like 1 decimal digit or 2 decimal digits. Otherwise, if it is not explicitly mentioned, then you can go up to 3 digits, 2 digits, whatever. Yeah, maybe up to 2 digits will be okay. So up to 2 digits.
Okay, okay, sir.
Yeah, yeah. Decimal digit. Okay. Oh, what did I write? Yeah, up to 2 decimal digits. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So yeah, I was saying something. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So what we have been discussing basically. Okay. Let me write it in a different way. So you have a source. Okay. A source, and there are source letters. Let's say A1, A2, AK. Now, for this, there is a source encoder. Okay, source encoder. That means this source encoder, what will do, it will generate a, let's say, a bunch of 0 ones corresponding to each of these. Okay. Now, suppose you want to say, so that is basically the code word thing which we are talking about, based on a code word. Okay, whatever the code word is. Okay, whatever, and code word for each of these source letters. Okay, so there is a code word. Now you want to send, let's say, a sequence of source letters. So there, let's say, A1, A2. I mean, it could be anything. Okay, let me write it like U1, U2, UL. Okay, all these UIs are one of these source letters, A1, A2, dot, 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 UL. Now, now suppose once this E1 is chosen, okay, so you have to digitalize this. That means there will be a bunch of 0 ones. Okay, so 0 ones for E1. Similarly, for U2, there will be a bunch of 0 ones. For UL, there will be a bunch of 0 ones. So all together, there is a bunch of 0 ones. Okay, they'll complete a bunch of 0 ones. Okay, this is what you want to send. Okay, L could be anything, large, small, whatever you can consider. L is, let's say, it is fixed because it is a finite channel. You can only finitely many you want to send, whatever it is. Okay, you want to send that. I mean, theoretically, it could be infinity because, yeah, it is on the lifetime of this. But anyway, it is always finite. You can assume that because you want to transmit this thing. Okay. Now, if you want to transmit this, so it may be possible that there is a limit when you are transmitting this through the channel. Okay, so you cannot make it. It may possible that you may not send everything. Okay, everything at one go. So what you can assume, if it is possible everything in one go, so you will do that. If it is not, maybe you'll be choosing, let's say, I'll take a subset of this. So you'll make into different blocks, let's say. Okay, suppose some blocks you can make it a separate block. So this many are possible. So let's say each of this, let me introduce a letter, let's say K. So each K many binary digits you want to send. So now K many, when you are sending here, so let's say this is a sequence of 0 ones, which is there are, and this length is K. There are K many such K binary digits. K binary digits. Okay. Now, since there is a capacity in the channel, there is a limit for the channel also. So you may not be able to send K or may be able to send K, does not matter. Okay. Now the thing is, here the block encoding is happening here. So when you are giving this as input for the channel, so there is something called a channel encoder. Okay. So this, yeah. So there is channel encoder. What it will do is basically it will take that input, okay, and form a new sequence. Okay, and that may be of sequence of, let's say, if it is 0 1, so binary, it could be binary digits, to ternary, whatever it is. Okay, so it is a sequence of, let's say, n. And in general, what happens is n is bigger than k, because we talked about that, right? We talked about that time synchronized or this and that. But in the sake of, the question will be how to decide the value of n. Okay, so one way to decide it is, it like, suppose we want to maintain a time synchronization, like the once a lot of once a bunch of sequences of 0 1 like KLN sequence is passed through the channel channel encoder, then the next bunch will go, and accordingly the channel encoder would also transmit across through the channel, let's say through the channel here. So suppose we want to have this condition that there is no time delay, so n can be based on that whatever the formula we had discussed. So based on that, n can be defined like that L times Ts by Tc. Okay, and the floor function of that. Okay, otherwise in theory you can say like n could be anything. Okay, based on your channel. So maybe you have it may also n may also depends on what is the limitation of your channel. Suppose you decide that n to be equal to some number. Okay, and you have the channel has the facility to transmit that many numbers per second or something like that. Okay, there is a time. So in theoretically speaking, n could be anything. But when you are doing it in practical, like somebody is doing some system design, he has to take care of that. Like whatever the goal is, maybe it is time synchronized or maybe something else. Okay, it doesn't matter. So depending on that, n can be decided. Now here, this particular part, like from this k length 0 1, okay, k length 0 1 to this n length 0 1. Okay, 0 1 it could be 0 1 2 whatever it is. Let me fix that it is all binary digits. So it is length n. This part is actually called the block coding. So encoding in terms of blocks. Blocks means like this, as I said. So for each k length, so there may be a huge length here. Okay, you may divide it to some number of blocks. So this can be considered as a message. Okay, this is the standard term in coding theory. Okay, I mean, okay, so there are two things. One is coding theory can totally be independent of the information theory if you do not know information theory. So it will be taught as a mathematical concept. Okay, this is one way to go about it. Another way to go about it is like that is what I do. I first build up the concept, because if I don't build up the concept or information theory, so then it will be very difficult to convince others like what is actually block encoding, why this n is there. I mean, about the background of the problem. Okay, somebody knows a little bit about the background of the problem, it will be easier to understand why we are doing it. Okay, so that's why I always follow this. So yeah, so this block, so then there's this coding, this n binary digits is again, okay, transformed into a k binary digits is again transformed into n binary digits, and then this is passed through the channel. Okay, now there can be many questions here, and this is what we're going to discuss from today onward. What is the use of that? That's the first question. We'll not discuss about how to decide the values of this n, how to decide the value of n. We already discussed that. Okay, that n could one idea could be that n could be equal to L times Ts by Tc. That is one way to do it. So that is enough for us to do it. Okay. Otherwise, there could be some other goal from the design perspective. Maybe as I said, like suppose the channel has that much limitation. Okay, that n could be, suppose this k could be equal to, let's say you divided the block, and let's say k could be equal to 10. K could be equal to 10, but this has the channel. I mean, you can send, let's say at one go you can send, let's say 100 bits. So that means you want to convert this to 100. So that also you can do. But that is not the end of the game. This is what I'm trying to tell you. That in generally assume that n is bigger than k. But when I am generating a new sequence of 0 1s from a given sequence of 0 1s of smaller length, then the question will be, how can I use the extra? So here there are, I mean, I'll talk about that. Okay. So there is, let's say this is k many, and this is n minus k many. So this is ad hoc. Okay. Now we talked about channel capacity, this and that. That's everything is fine. But the question is, when it is transmitted through the channel, I also have to check. Okay, whatever is received here. Okay, received here or here, the decoded message, okay, or decoded channel digits. Okay, so whether that is erroneous or not, that I have to see, because it is going through a noisy channel. So there is a chance that 0 can be flipped to 1, 1 can be flipped to 0. Then there are two things you have to decode. You have to detect the error, and you have to correct the error if possible. So when I'm sending a sequence of this 0 1s, so let's say this is k many received and this is n minus k many received. Now, can I use this extra or ad hoc these things? Okay, or can I exploit this ad hoc sequence of 0 1s in order to rectify if there is any error or not? Suppose there is an error, whether I am able to rectify the error or not. It may happen. I will discuss about that. that even we may not able to detect also that there was an error. That may also can happen. But the question is, suppose we are able to detect an error, then the question will be, can we identify? So we suppose we are able to identify the error, detect the error, and then the question will be, can I rectify that? Okay, can that be controlled? Okay, that error can be controlled, meaning, so whatever the message I received here, with the sequence of 0 1s I received here, I will make certain changes based on whatever I have received, and I'll, if there is any error here in this part, let's say, then I will rectify that, and then I'll pass it through the channel, pass it whatever through the, or pass it to this decoder. Okay, so let's say here there is a decoder, so I'll pass through this decoder. So the idea here is block coding means nothing. You have some k bunch of 0 1s. So this block encoding is nothing but how. So this is like, there's a topic about how to generate a sequence of n binary digits. Okay, digits from k binary digits. Okay, such that, okay, that procedure can be useful, such that it will be useful, okay, in the in identifying or in detecting the error. Okay, error, or detecting and rectifying the error. Okay, detecting and rectifying the error. Okay, when the n digit sequence given, we have to generate a sequence. Yeah, the n digit or n length sequence is passed through a channel. This is the goal. Pass through the channel. Okay. Now the value of n can be decided based on something, based on some goal, which you want to achieve for the communication. So now we'll be discussing different methods. Okay, how to generate this this map. Okay, how to decide this. Okay, so there can be a map, right? There must be a function. Okay, which will give, let's say, let me write it like u. Okay, some sample, or u bar, because it's a sequence, and there is something, let's say, some v or v bar. Okay, so this is of length k. This is length k. Okay, and this is, okay, k length, or length k, and this is in length. Okay, or length n. Okay, so this is what we are going to study. So how to define this? Okay, can I define arbitrarily? Okay, for example, I gave you an example in last class that, okay, suppose k equal to 2, so I have all possible 0 1 0 0 1 0 and 1 1, and then I can decide like n equal to 5, and I can do something. Okay, so I can write a bunch of numbers. Okay, digits list, 0 1s. So is it okay to do it? Obviously, it is not okay to do it, because we need kind of a formula, kind of a mechanism, so that I can implement this, okay, in a circuit, or using a circuit kind of a thing. Okay, you can implement this in a machine. Okay, so I need a formula for that. Because I need to design a circuit which will do that. That means whenever I give this input u bar, this will produce the output v bar. Okay, and next step will be, once I have a mechanism, then I have to also see whether I can detect the error, if this is the mechanism I follow to generate all those sequences, and if I am able to detect it, then can I correct it also if there is an error. Okay, this is the thing. Yeah, any question?
Sir, I have a doubt related to Hopman code. So suppose we have
Okay.
two Hopman codes, then is there any criteria to select optimal Hopman code?
What do you mean by two Hopman codes?
So we can generate two Hopman code given a particular probability distribution. And question is
How?
that which sir, if you have some repeated probability, then we can construct.
Okay.
Then question is which one will be optimal?
Both will be optimal. I mean, that optimal in a sense that average.
So average. So yes, average length will be same both.
Yeah.
But sir, there may be a chance like one Hopman code have more lengths and another one have some less length like that.
No, I don't know. I didn't encounter this kind of a problem. So I don't know. If you can find an example, then it will be, maybe we can see that. Because by definition, it is optimal. Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, I found one example where I got two different
No.
code.
That is okay, two different Hopman code, but whether this average length is same or not, that's the question.
Yes, sir, average length is same.
Yeah, so because by definition it is optimal. So I'm asking that whether you have something like a Hopman code, okay? I mean, two different Hopman codes for a particular probability distribution, and their average length is different because by definition there cannot be any other code whose average code length is below than the Hopman code. By definition, it is. By definition, the way it is constructed, okay, the way it is proved, let's say. So I don't think there will be any, and there will be two different Hopman codes, like one one of its code word length, the average code word length is less than the other one, because it is not possible, because it is by definition it is optimal.
There is a concept of less variability, something like that, to discard one. So I didn't get that.
What is that? Less?
So there's a concept of less variability, like, but that I didn't get. That's why I'm asking.
I don't know. I don't know that. I don't know. Even if it is there, I don't know. What I know is, since it is optimal, we are not supposed. I mean, if you want to make it unique, there may be a procedure. But what I'm saying is, since it is optimal, there cannot be anything which is. You cannot have two different codes. One of its average code length is lower than the other one, or greater than the other one. I don't think it is possible. But if you want to generate only one, then you have to set maybe another criteria when we are choosing the probabilities. Okay. So which probability is smaller? Okay, you have to, let's say, two different symbols. Okay, for which the same probability, then which one to choose? Okay, maybe there is a way to define uniqueness. Okay, because we always have to choose something. Let's say one criteria could be like, okay, whatever is indexed first, you choose that. Maybe A1, A2, AK, and let's say A2 and A3. Okay, they have the same probability, and you encounter a situation where you can choose either A2 or A3, then maybe there could be, one can define, okay, let's choose A2 because we'll go through the index. So that is possible. But it will give two different average code word length. I don't think it will happen. But if you find such an example, you can bring it to my notice. Yeah. You got it, what I said?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so just let me know if you find such an example, but I don't think you will get one because it is optimal. But yeah, there may be procedures to generate a unique thing, okay? Because so many people, suppose there is a machine, okay? So machine can one time can do this and another. So suppose you develop an algorithm to generate Hopman code, okay? And there is an input probability distribution for which there are 2, 3, 4, or most of them are all equal, let's say, or you can have everything equal. All the probabilities are equal, okay? Because you can have a uniform distribution kind of a thing, or everything is equal. Then what to choose, okay? So that may be possible. Then one can define a criteria using which you can always get only one Hopman code. There are multiple ways to get it, but you always choose that one, like based on your criteria, whatever you define. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So what I was saying here. Oh, okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Somebody is saying.
Sir, like in the continuation of what Gautam was asking, like what I want to ask you is when exactly are two coding schemes different? Like, say suppose I have a Hoffman code, and if I flip 0 and 1 in that Hoffman code only, it will again be a Hoffman code. Now this code and the earlier one, they are same or they will be treated as different?
No, if the code is different, as I said, they are different, right? But both are Hoffman codes. Because if you have obtained that code using that Hoffman procedure, that's why it is called a Hoffman code. But if the code is a set, right? Set of code words. If two sets are different, then it's a different code. But both are Hoffman code.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So yeah. So what I was saying? Yeah. So from k length to n length. Okay. Yeah. This is our problem. Okay. This is our problem, and we'll be discussing methods. Okay. How to do this. Okay. And then we'll do an inner analysis, like how to detect error, what is the possibility of detection of an error, and then how to rectify that if the error is detected. And first, we'll do something called linear block loads. Okay. So here you need concepts of linear algebra. Linear block code. So I'll not repeat the concepts of linear algebra. I will assume that you know, but if you have any doubt, you may ask. So if I find that we can discuss in a very short time, then I will discuss. Otherwise, I will ask you to read a book. Okay. Okay. So, yeah.
Sir, I have one more doubt.
Go ahead.
Sir, it is regarding this the TS and so the way we define N. So N equals to TS by TC multiplied by L. Now here like we are ensuring that the ratio of T by like it is meaningful from which just like you gave an example where our TS was like much greater than TS was 5 second and TL was 2 second, right?
Yeah.
Now like what I can conclude from here, like if at all in this example they both were like say I flip them, right? So TS is 2 and then it make no sense.
Yeah.
So we are restricting T and the ratio also. So what factors will decide and ensure that this ratio is being restricted so that N will make a proper sense?
Okay. No. So what I say, that's a cooked up example. Okay. So I define TS and TC in such a way that will make sense. Okay. N equal to this, but it may not make any sense. Okay. Whenever you are doing some system design, like suppose you want to design a communication channel. Okay. But what happens in general? So this is from the design perspective. Okay. So what happens is that n is always, so this is what we are going to discuss here. Okay, we have to choose n to be bigger than k because you want to detect the error through when you are choosing this channel. As I said before, this is one way to define it. Okay, TS and TC using that. Okay, this TS and TC, this is one way to do it. But there are multiple ways to do it. You can, as I said, in theory, you can say n could be anything. You only assume that n is bigger than k. So in theory, that you don't care about the time, for example, let's say. So as I said, like suppose the channel has a limit, okay, you don't care about how, so what is the time gap on this and that. You want to synchronize such a way that whatever the strength possible, the number of bits you can transmit through the channel. Okay, channel is in your hand, let's say. Okay, so you can design a channel, for example, it is possible. Channel means suppose from here to, okay, for whenever you watch some, let's say game of cricket, somewhere suppose it is happening in some stadium and you can watch it from your home, right? So there is some kind of a communication going on. Okay, and this is a very powerful communication system. So it says actually many number of several digits, okay, several binary digits is possible to transmit. So that you can restrict also using, because that is artificially made. You can restrict also the number of the limit of how many digits you can send through this channel. So in general, what happens is, so this is a very large number. This n is very large number. You can transmit through this channel. So in principle, you may not have this. You may forget about TS and TC. This is one way to do it, as I said, when you want time synchronizer. But you may also see that it does not matter on time. It matters only on how many digits you can send. That is also one way to do it. So it is not all. So that example I gave, that's a cooked up example. That if that is the case, then that is this is how we can define n equal to this. But in principle, when you talk about hardware and designing communication system, this n in general is very large. So that's why you always assume that theoretically we assume that this n is bigger than k, and it is actually much bigger than k. But it need not be like NL or TS or TC. Okay, there may be that limit of this or constant of this number of bits passing through. I mean, through a channel could be very huge. Number of bits could be very huge. So in that case, I mean, you don't care about the time. So you know that I can send this many, so I'll send this many. Time is synchronized already. Yeah, so I mean, see, this is theory, okay? Theoretically, we have to assume a lot of things. Then all you can build up a nice theory. When you go to practical thing, the real life, there will be many constant which somehow we have to overcome, tweaking many things. Okay, so theory is not exactly the application. Application a little bit different than the theory. So you can apply the theory, provided you need to tweak a lot of things about whatever you are doing, like the practical thing, the implementation thing, whatever you are doing. So the theory exactly may not be copied to the application, but you need to do some kinds of adjustments.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
So, sir, actually, like in that example only, so when we fix n equals to 5, so like we get an intuition about like this kind of thing may help us, like if there is a little bit problem in a single, say, so 5 entries are there, it may retrieve code if it is having some trouble or 1 or 2 bits or the entries are different, right? But what I'm thinking, if n equals to like L in that case, then there will be a very less possibility, like as close as n is to k, then it can't be able to correct this by itself, right? So like that's why maybe we are taking n to be very large.
That is one way to look at it. This is one way to look at it. Yes. So that is what I was saying, that how do you exploit this n minus k? You'll see when I will discuss different kinds of procedures, then you'll see what is the use of those n minus k, the additional, the ad hoc bits. What is the use of that for the case of error detection and error correction? Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Okay. So yeah. So we'll be talking about this linear block code. So this is a particular kind of a mechanism, okay, to generate this block encoding, okay. And here we'll talk about vector spaces. And here we always have to remember that 0, 1 to the power, let's say some k or maybe some L, okay. It is always a vector space. So this is what? This is how many elements? So this is a finite space, right? So there are 2 to the power L number of vectors here, okay? And each vector contains, let's say, L binary digits. So this is nothing but 0, 1 times 0, 1 times 0, 1. Okay, this is L times Cartesian product of the set 0, 1, L times. Okay, then this will form a vector space over the GF2. Okay, let me not write GF2, just over the field. Okay, GF means what? It's called a Galois field. Okay, so yeah, so it is over the field 0, 1. Okay, so why 0, 1 is a field? You can, with respect to the module operation, you can prove that the 0, 1 will be a field, and this is always a vector space. And then what is the dimension of this vector space? Can anybody tell me? What is the dimension of this vector space? Okay, dimension will be L. Okay, so just in order to justify myself, okay, L, let's say L equal to 2. Okay, so what I'm saying is, I'll give you a basis. Okay, so what I'm trying to tell you here, let's say my basis here is, I'll give you the choice how to, the standard basis, basically the way you consider it, if the field is real or complex. So my basis is like, so here, let's say 1, 0. So here I will write this sequence as this, like 0, 1, and let's say 1, 0. And all others, okay, all others. So here there are 4 vectors, like 0, 0, 0, this thing. So let's say this is my, let's say V1, and this is my V2. Okay, let me write this. Okay, arrow in order to understand the vector, because there is 0 and 1 both are here as scalars as vectors. Then you say 0, 0. This is an element of the vector space here. Okay, let's say this is my vector space V. So then 0, 0 is nothing but 0 times V1 plus 0 times V2, and 1, 0 is nothing but, let's say, 1 times V1 plus 0 times V2, and 0, 1 is like oh, this is not 1, 0, this is 0, 1. So this is 0 times V1 plus 1 times V2, and of course 1, 1 is nothing but V1, 1 times V1 plus 1 times V2. So any element here from the vector space when L equal to 2, okay, can be written as linear combination of these two, and these are linearly independent because V1 is not a scalar multiple of V2. Okay, so two vectors are linearly independent when any one of them is not a scalar multiple. Scalar means after 0 times or 1 time. Okay, because here the scalars means only 0 and 1. The field, the element of the field is only 0 and 1. So L equal to 2. So then the dimension is actually 2. So when you consider such a vector space 0, 1 to the power L, okay, how many such elements can be there? So the basis elements are nothing but 1 at so one non-zero element, okay, at one position, and the rest of all are 0. And you can have only L many such vectors, and they are all linearly independent. And you can choose other bases also, but this is what I will use because this is easy to deal with. Yeah, so and other vectors can be written as linear combination of these vectors. Okay, so yeah, so this is a vector space, okay, what the field 0, 1, and which has dimension L. And what else? So yeah, and here vector is always represented as a row vector. Okay, vector is always as a row vector. Okay, now why it is called a linear code, I'll come to that. But you see here, first of all, you have a vector space. Okay, whenever I say vector space, I'll write it as a plane-like picture. Okay, like there is a plane, because vector space identifies with the structure of a plane. Okay, anything which is not a plane, not flat. Okay, vector space means this is why it is called a linear space also. So it is always flat because that's the property of vectors. Okay, because vector space is defined in terms of scaling and addition, right? I mean, you can have other operations, but these are the main operations through which you can define a linear space or vector space. So it is something which is flat. So suppose this is my 0, 1 to the power k from where we started with 0, 1 to the power k. And here I want to consider a space, okay, which is like 0, 1, 0, 1 to the power n. So here all the left hand side, okay, the left hand side, all my elements are sequence of 0, 1s of length k, and in the right hand side sequence of 0, 1 of length n. Now, if I consider any linear map, let's say, and to understand this mapping usually, that's why it is called a linear block code. So if you want to design this linear block code, this association, the way I'm generating this n length sequences, okay, from the scale length sequences, suppose this is a linear map. Let's say this is a linear map T. So this is map is linear. Then we know that any linear map, why it is called a linear? What is the property about why it is called a linear map? The word linear comes from the fact that it preserves the linearity property. Linearity property, when linearity property is a geometric property. Let's say, as I said, it's a flat space. Okay, it's just flat. So that means this image of this map, okay, so will be linear if the the input is, if the input is linear, that means it will take vector space to a vector space. Okay, vector space means linear structure. So that means, so the image of this, so because there are 2 to the power n elements, but when I am taking image of this, T of, let's say this is a vector space V. So T of V, okay, so T of V, okay, T of the entire V. So that has to be T of V, okay, T of this V is a subspace. It has to be a subspace because the map is linear. Okay, that's the definition of linear map. So, okay, I'm not defining mathematically, I'm giving you some, I'm explaining you in terms of why it is called, okay, linear and so on. But if you want to check what is the definition of linear map, this and that, you can read it in any book, and I think you should know this. Okay, so TV is a, I will say it's a subspace of 2 to the power k elements, okay, of the vector space vector space 0 1 to the power n. Okay, so this image is inside this vector space. Okay, 2 to the power n. I mean, having 2 to the power n elements, 0 1 to the power n. And in fact, this is the definition of my block code. Okay, so my definition of block code, okay, a linear block code basically. So, okay, so a block code of length n, okay, and let's say, yeah, and 2 to the power k code words or messages, also it is called messages or messages, okay, is called linear n comma k block code or just linear code, okay, if, or you can say if and only if the image, okay, the 2 to the power k code words, okay, code words, okay, form a k-dimensional subspace of 0 1 to the power n, okay, over the field 0 1. So this is called my linear block code. Okay. Now see here, what is the meaning of vector space, by the way? So it's now started with this one. Okay, this was 0 1 to the power k. Now you have reached here. Okay, there is a bigger set. Okay, there is a bigger set. This is 0 1 0 1 to the power n, and yeah, so let's say there is an image here, okay, which is under this map T. Okay, so this is the block code. So, and this has dimension k. Okay. Now, by the definition of vector space, when I say it is a subspace, this space is a subspace of this 0 to the power n. It means if there are two vectors, let's say this is my axis, okay, x-axis, y-axis, okay. I mean, there are k elements, k, the dimension k, so there will be such k things, okay. K, I mean, there are k linearly independent vectors like this, which you generate out, you span this vector space. Then what will happen is, if I pick any two, suppose this is the origin. So if I take any two vectors from here, by the definition of vector space, if I add these two vectors, and whatever I'll get, this should also belong to the same space. So and this addition here means the modulo to sum, right? So that means what is happening, if I call these elements here as the code words, okay, then if I add two code words, okay, I mean addition is the modulo to sum, then the resulting vector, okay, the resulting vector should also be a code word because it is a subspace, okay. Okay, let me give you an example and then we'll see what is happening. So let's say k equal to 4 and let's say n equal to 7. So I'm giving you a big example, and because just to see what is the structure here. Okay, so we'll see a lot of things here. So let's say 0 0 0 0. So I'll have 16 entries, okay, in the left hand side, because k equal to 4, so 2 to the power 4, that means 16. So, and these are all in length, that means of length 7. So yeah, so I'll choose 16 vectors from of 16 code words, let's say, okay, of length 7. So 0 0 0 0 0 0 0. Then here 1 0 0 0, and then here we'll have 1 1. Anything you can define, but you have to make sure that right hand side, okay, this should be a vector space. That means if we add any two code words, okay, it also has to addition. If you pick any two elements from here on the right hand side, if we add them up, then the resulting vector, okay, should also be a code word, should also belong to this list. Okay, otherwise it is not linear. Okay, so this is the property of linearity we are using here. Okay, so 0 1 0 0. Let me say it's 0 1 1 0 1 0 0. Then 1 1 0 0, and then it's a 1 0 1 1 1 0 0, and keep on doing this. Okay, keep on doing this. I mean, you can fill it up. Okay, now let me write 0 1 1 1, and you can say 0 0 1 0 1 1 1, and let's say 1 1 1 1, and then we'll have 1 1 1 1 1 1 1. Okay, so then if this is the way I define, or you can fill it up. Okay, that's the thing you have to keep in mind when you are filling this gap is that the right hand side, okay, should form a vector space. Left hand side is already a vector space because it contains all possible binary sequences of length 4. Right hand side, it is only 2 to the power 4 elements. Okay, 4 elements out of 2 to the power 8. Sorry, 2 to the power 7. So this is a subset. The right hand side, the list of all this. If you list it out, all the vectors in the right hand side, then they form a subspace, and then all it is linear. So you have to keep that in mind. So whenever you add any two elements from here, any two elements, so then the resulting vectors should also be here. So that way you can always define this thing. Okay. Okay. Now the thing is, okay, so that means this coding is not unique. Okay, unique in a sense, I may define different kinds of maps. The map T I was talking about, and I'll always get this thing. I'll always get a linear code. Okay, but you see here, I mean, if you do study a little bit of linear algebra, any vector space in this world can be considered as, okay, image or range of some matrix. Okay, some matrix. I mean, we are talking about finite dimensional vector spaces, and that always can be considered. So here, what we are trying to do now, I want to kind of find a matrix, okay, such that if I give that as an input, this left-hand side vectors as inputs, and that then this inputs will act on this matrix and give me the right-hand side vectors. Okay, so I'm looking for such a matrix. Okay, that means I want to generate the code words in the right-hand side. Okay, the code words, okay, from a matrix. This is what I'm trying to do now. Okay. So now since I want to do that, that means what? Yeah, so that is what I want to do. Now, how I can do this? Okay, so since this is, let's say, a k-dimensional space, okay, so this is a k-dimensional space. So k-dimensional space, then there are k-linear independent vectors, right? There must be k-linear independent vectors which will generate all the entries, all the elements of this right-hand side, all the code words it will generate. Now, once I know all these basis elements, so this is a k-dimensional space, so that means that is okay. There are k many vectors, okay, vectors that are linearly independent, that are linearly independent, independent. And then what will happen is, now since any element from the right hand side, because it's a subspace, it's a vector space, then can be generated by a linear sum or linear combination of this k many vectors, the basis elements. Okay, so let us assume that the basis is, let's say, G0, G1. I'm writing it as G because of something. I'll tell you what it is. And let's say GK minus 1. Okay. So,
Sir,
yeah.
sir, sir, what we are doing here, like we are generating a k-dimensional subspace of right-hand side.
Yeah. So what I want to do here is, this is my input and this is my corresponding output. Okay. So I want to realize this as a map. Map means this T, this map T. I want to, this is a matrix because it is a mapping from a k-dimensional space, vector space, to n-dimensional vector space, right? So this image, the range is n-dimensional, okay, and this left is k-dimensional. Now what I want to do is, I want to generate a map, means I want to basically find a matrix, okay, of, let's say, order k by n, okay, or n by k, doesn't matter. I'll write k by n because of something, okay. Okay, when I write k by n, that means I have to multiply the input from the left hand side, because all my vectors as row vectors, right? So they are not column vectors. So this mapping, I have to define it from the left hand side, okay. So I want to define a matrix k by n such that when I multiply, suppose I pick u, okay, and then I want to find out the corresponding image here, okay, in this right hand side space. So I'll just the image of this u under this map T, this matrix T, and then I'll get the corresponding V here, okay, V here. And that is how I can generate a subspace, okay, and that will be my set of code words. This is what I was trying to do here. Because what I want is my set of linear code words that want to create, want to produce, okay, that has to be a subspace. What I'm saying is any subspace can be characterized by image of a matrix, okay, or range of a matrix. So that means I need to construct a matrix such that this right-hand side vectors, okay, should be exactly equal to image, okay, of the left-hand side vector space under that particular mapping or under that particular matrix. This is what I'm going to do.
But sir, here matrix may be singular matrix and mapping may not be unique.
Okay, let's see how do I do. Yeah, matrix may not be unique. I didn't say that it is unique. I said I want to define. And here it is, I am saying there is no question of singular or non-singularity because it is not a square matrix even. It is a rectangular matrix because, you know, the right dimension of both the spaces are not same. The domain and codomain, they are not same. It is k-dimensional vector space, and right hand side you have n-dimensional vector space, right? So when you define linear map into vector spaces, let's say finite dimensional vector spaces, how do you define it? So the dimension of the matrix would match with the dimensions of the range, the codomain and the domain, right? But here the thing is, I'll do it a little differently because not a standard thing, whatever you find in linear algebra book. Because here because in linear algebra books you'll find everything in terms of column vectors, but here I have to do it in terms of row vectors. So whenever I say image, let's say I have a matrix. So in general, linear algebra books you'll find, okay, let's say I have a mapping. Let's say, let me say it is R to the power m, and this is R to the power n. You want to define a matrix M, then the matrix should have the dimension n by m, right? So, and what is the image? If you take u from here, then how to get V? V should be equal to m times u. Okay, but here I cannot do this because all my vectors are row vectors. So here you can do, so what I have to do instead is I have to multiply it from the left hand side because it is row, not the column, m, and then only I can do it. So instead of this n by m, I will must have m by n. That's the thing what I need to do. Okay, let me just, okay, you have any other question? Where?
No, sir.
Okay. So yeah. So let us do this. So this is the thing we have to keep in mind. That's all my vectors are row vectors here. Okay. Okay. So what I was saying. Yeah. So we want to realize this as a subspace. So we want to realize this code set of code words as a subspace of 2 to the power of n-dimensional vector space. So I want to realize that as a mapping and as a matrix, and how to create that matrix that I'm talking about. So what I'm saying is, if I can just take k many vectors which are linearly independent. Using that, I can always construct this mapping. And now I'm giving you how I can construct this mapping. So I'm saying, let's say I have k linearly independent vectors which are like the g0 g1 up to gk minus 1. And then I'm saying that any v, okay, from the code word should be written as some z0 plus g1 dot 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 plus something times gk minus 1. And in fact, what I want is this should be u0 u1 dot 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 uk minus 1. This should be v. So what I'm doing is, here my u is u0 u1 dot 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 uk minus 1, and my v is v0 v1 dot 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 vn minus 1. And now this is my association. This is, if I know g0 g1 dot dot gk minus 1, then I'm done using this mapping. This is how I am defining. If I know u, so if I know u belongs to this 0 1 to the power k. This is where u is, and then I'll define what the map is. How do I define this matrix? I'll define that. But I'm saying that for u, okay, u, there is v, okay, and this v is defined in this way. So for this u, so if you give me any u, I can now produce any v if I know this g1, g0, g1 up to gk minus 1. So I just need to do that. Okay. So now I am. So I'll write this matrix not as M, but because it has a name, this matrix has a name, and I'll write this matrix as G, and then this. This is a nice matrix, okay, and this is a very famous matrix. In fact, since G generates this code words, this G is called the generator matrix. Generator matrix for the linear code or block linear code. Okay. Now, how do I define G? I'm just saying you define G in this way. So here everything, since the vectors are row vectors, so I have to define the matrix in terms of a column. So this is my 0, G0, G1, dot dot dot, GK minus 1. So G0 is a vector from 0 on to the power n. So it's a row vector. So it is like G00, G01, G02, dot dot dot, G0 n minus 1. Then G1 bar. So this is 10, 11, 12. So this is not a standard labeling you do. You see that? And here it is 0, G k minus 1, 0, because there are k rows. Index is k minus 1, 1, or maybe the same thing. Just I'm writing it differently. And G k minus 1, n minus 1. So this matrix, okay, I would say like this. It is from 0, 1 to the power k times n. So that's a k by n times matrix. This is k times n. And how v can be obtained from G? So, and V is nothing but U times G. That's it. So if you do that, you'll see. So U is my, let's say U0, U1, okay, U k minus 1. This times Z0, G1, dot 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 zk minus 1. So if you multiply this, you exactly will get Z0, Z0 plus U1, G1 bar plus dot 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 k minus 1, gk minus 1 bar. So you can also say the rows of the matrix G generates the code. So you can also say that the linear code is nothing but the row space of the generator matrix G. Okay. So the code is generated by the rows of the generator matrix. G. Now, still I did not say how do you create G0, G1 up to G k minus 1, right? So anybody has any idea? I need to choose k linearly independent vectors, okay, from the n-dimensional vector space 0 to the power n. This is what I need to do. Okay, this is what I need to do. I have to pick, okay, let me say it like this way. So this is my vector space, which is k dimensional on the right hand side. Okay, this is 0, 1 to the power k and left hand side, and from the right hand side, this is n dimensional. So this is 0, 1 to the power n, and I want to pick k vectors from here, which are linearly independent, and whatever space they will generate, this is k dimensional space. Okay, and that will be my set of code words. Okay, and using these vectors, I'll define my matrix G as the rows of these vectors, these row vectors. So any idea how to do that? Okay, so before we do that, let me discuss what we are actually doing. We see the right hand side vector. So this right hand side vector V, let's say, right hand side vector V. So it has two parts. Okay, one is this part, which is called, I'll tell you, which is called the message part. I'll tell you why I'm calling it a message part. So this has k digits. And this part, what I'm saying is the n minus k digits, which is the, let's say, this is redundant actually. So this is, and this is, these are the digits in which we'll check whether there is an error or not. So let's just call the checking part. So this thing has a nice thing, nice structure. I mean, this code words. Okay, this is the first thing you can say n minus k, and the rest of the thing you can say the other way also. For the first ones are k, and the rest ones are n minus k. But I want to maintain a structure. Okay, so that's why I'm saying that I want to write it this way. Okay, because I want to define my G1, G0, G1 to Gk minus 1. That's why I'm doing it. And these bits, okay, this I'll call information bits or information digits. Okay, information or maybe the message or the message digits, and this I'll call something called parity check. Okay, parity check. I'll tell you why it is called a parity check later, maybe parity check digits. Okay. Now, so what is our goal? Okay, so this has a nice structure, and I put it in a different form here now. And what I'm saying, the message part is, it doesn't matter if you pick, so okay, let me first define my G, and then you'll see this is the magic. Like it can be easily constructed. So this is my G0, this is my G1, and this is my GK minus 1. Okay. So how I want to create it is nothing but I don't care about this part. Okay. This part is n minus yeah. So I'll have how many rows? K minus 1. Sorry. I mean k many rows. So k minus 1 times this n minus k. This part I don't care. But this part I'm fixing, and this part because I want linearly independent rows. Okay. And these are all rows G0, G1, dot, dot, I mean G1 bar, G0 bar, G1 bar, dot, 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 GK minus 1 bar, they're all rows. I want this to be independent. Okay. So what I'll do is, why not pick this part? So this rest of this part, okay, this part has dimension what? This is how many rows are here? This is K minus 1. Okay. How many columns are there? This is K. So I need to choose this K as linearly independent. If I choose this K as linearly independent, then it does not matter how do I define the left-hand part, this will always be linearly independent. So in fact, I can choose this right-hand part, this part, I can fill it up by choosing a basis from the left-hand side, this space, from this space. And what is that basis? This is my standard basis. So I'll take 1, 0, 0, dot, 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 0, 0, 1, 0, dot, 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 0, 0, 0, 1, dot, 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 0, and I'll keep on doing this 0, 0, 0, dot, 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 1. So what I'm doing here is now, okay, what I'm doing here is now, these vectors are always linearly independent. So whatever you write here, 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 it doesn't matter. This always will be linearly independent because this vector, this subpart is always linearly independent. So whatever you write here, even if it is a linear combination of this one, doesn't matter because this part, entire vector will be linearly independent because this part of the first row can never be written as linear combination of this part or any of the part here on the right hand side of these vectors. So this will always be linearly independent. So what I'm choosing here is I'm choosing a very particular structure G. I'm making this independent. Whatever you take doesn't matter. I'm just saying you fill it up by some 0 ones. I don't care. And right hand side is the identity matrix. So you fill it up. So you fill it up by, let's say, yeah, you fill it up by, let's say, a matrix, okay, of order this k minus 1 and minus k. Sorry, not, I mean, there are k rows, right? Yeah, so this k minus, not k minus. So this p00, p01, p0, n minus k minus 1, and then oh, I think it will be minus 1 because the rest one is k. So add this up, 0 up to, anyway, it doesn't matter. So whatever. 1, 0, p11, dot, 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 p1, n minus k minus 1, dot, 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 p k minus 1, 0, p k minus 1, 1, dot, 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 p k minus 1, n minus k minus 1. Okay, and where this pij, okay, they are either 0 or 1. So this matrix is called the P matrix. Let's say it is called the P matrix. Let us denote. So then what I'm saying is you choose the generator matrix as nothing but P, and then rest is identity. So this is identity of order K, or of dimension K, or K by K. So this is the way to construct a generator matrix. And of course, it is not unique, and this P can be anything. I don't care. And here I took IK, the scale linear independent vector. It could have chosen something else also, but in order to make my life easier, not complex. Okay. So in order to make my life simple, okay, because I have to do a lot of calculation within this G. And that is why actually I call this as the message part. Now see, go back to this. We'll see it, calculation, but go back to my example. This part I'm keeping invariant. 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 Only I'm changing this part. It's n minus k part. This part I'm changing. Okay, this part I was keeping invariant. This part I was keeping invariant. So I'm only changing this part. So I'm saying, okay, I need 16 vectors. So I know already that I need 3 digits. So repeat this 2 times. I mean, there are 2 to the power 3, 8 elements, okay, in this vector. Okay, repeat it up to 12. Doesn't matter. I will always get a vector space because I'm generating this. This is the vector space. This is all this set. This will form a vector space. So right hand side will always become a vector space. Doesn't matter. So when I was telling you that choose this, you have to choose carefully. Means there is a trick to choose it. I mean, if you arbitrarily start choosing it, you have to every time you have to check whether the addition of this everything is falling in place. I mean, it is in the code word or not. But if I use this mechanism, it is always there. So this is always a vector space. So this right hand side will always become a vector space. Doesn't matter. Okay, so yeah. So this is the trick I used. So here is my generator matrix. Now we can just use it like a formula. What is my generator matrix? It is this. And how this V can be obtained? How this V can be obtained? It is nothing but U times G. That's it. That's it. So I can obtain all the code words from all the code words given. So this is in 0, 1 to the power K, and this is 0, 1 to the power N. And this is my generator matrix, which is of this form. Okay. Now, so this P is here, you can say 0, 1 to the power. How many rows are there? K many rows. And how many columns are there? N minus K. Okay. So I can choose as big matrix P. So not P is not there. So by this, I mean, if I take V0 equal to V0, V1, Vn minus 1, N entries are here, then this will be nothing but U0, U1, Uk minus 1 times this G matrix, generator matrix G. So, and from here, you will see from the definition of G that it follows. The way I constructed here this code, this right hand side will remain invariant. You can see that. So right hand side invariant means what? These are all V1, let's say V0, V1, and so on, right? Oh, not V0, I mean, I have to use it. Okay, let me write it this way, V2 and so on. So if I pick, or let me say this is just a vector V, this vector is just a vector V, then this part, this K digit remain the same as U here. Okay, so Uj is equal to Vj here when J is varying from 0 to K in the right hand side part, and this will only be linear combination of the PIs. Okay, so that I can show it mathematically now. Okay, so if you just multiply this thing, I mean, mathematics is very simple. If you just multiply this thing, so what is happening here? You have U0, U1, Uk minus 1 times this matrix P0, 0, okay, P0 N minus K minus 1, because starting from 0, so P1, 0, okay, and P1 N minus K minus 1, P K minus 1, 0, P K minus 1 N minus K minus 1, and the rest are identities 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, and 0, 0, 1 identity matrix. Now, if we multiply this, okay, what am I supposed to get? I'm just giving the. Can anybody tell me what should be V0? What should be V0? In fact, I'm only interested about the latter part. I am interested, let's say, about V n minus K plus I. This should be what? That means from the last. What is V n minus 1? So this is matrix multiplication. This times this, right?
Sir, UK minus 1.
Not K minus 1, but exactly UI. Okay, you said, okay, I asked you Vn minus 1. Yeah, so Vn minus 1. So last one should be equal to that one. Yeah, so if I write it this way, it should be equal to Vi. Yeah, you're right. And this is true for all I 1 to K. And for the rest, okay, on the left hand side of this, so this part, so there are 2 parts here and it is here. Okay, so the rest here is the K terms and here is the remaining N minus K terms. Okay. So then for the rest, Vj, okay, this small Vj will be equal to, if you just write it, multiply it, you will see that this will be just like this. P1 times, I mean, this is just a matrix multiplication, nothing else. Plus uk minus 1, pk minus 1, okay. So this is how I can get all the b's, okay? And this j should be from 0 to n minus k. Okay, and this equation, so I don't care. So this part is already known to me. Okay, when you are constructing the code, what you say, again, I'm telling this is very simple. We mathematically proved it, but it is very simple. So when I was writing this left-hand part is obvious. Okay, only thing you have to calculate is this part. Then you'll get this. Okay. So, I mean, if you want to develop a kind of a circuit, then you have to only care about this left-hand side part, okay? I mean, if you want to develop an algorithm, you only have to take care of the left-hand part. Right-hand part is already decided because of this, okay? The same as this one. Now, so that's why this equation, if I want to find out this, so this is already, this is, so I don't care about this, okay? So then this rest, the last, so I would say like this, the last k entries of V, okay, are already known. So, and depending on this Pij's, okay, I'll have the rest of the first n minus k entries of the V, okay, and this is actually called the parity part. Okay, I was saying about parity part. This P stands for parity. So this parity part, and it's called, this equation is called actually parity check equations. So this is the thing which you have to compute. This is parity check equations of the code. Okay, so this is very simple, and you can just check this. You can check this using just this simple multiplying this, and you can verify this with this example. Okay. But here it seems like everything is okay, but everything is not actually okay. Okay. So, I mean, everything is okay means one can do that, all this J, this and that. But we want something very simpler than this. Okay. I'll tell you why. Because what happens in life, I mean, if you want to, so what is that? So this also can be considered as what I'll call. So if I know P, this is just a vector, but I mean, this is just a scalar product, right? And then you can get Vj. Okay, not a problem. Okay. Now what I'm saying is, we want something to much simpler than this. Okay, why I'm saying this? Suppose I have this kind of a situation that J is very, very large. Okay, then every time I have to multiply this. Okay, this scalar product and this and that for many J's, let's say. Okay, but somehow I'm looking for, can I transform this problem into another problem which is comparatively simpler than this, let's say. Simpler in a sense that I have to compute I have to solve some linear system or some kind of homogeneous linear system, okay, so that I can easily compute it. If it is huge, then what I'll do is, okay, I'll use, okay, you can talk about the fact. See, why is this is a difficult problem? So whenever you have a lot of vectors, so I mean, this you can think in terms of complexity theory also. What is the complexity of multiplying two matrices, and what is the complexity of solving a linear system? Okay, if you want to find this, so this is essentially the same thing. AB when you multiply, because you just take a scalar product of the rows and columns of A and B. And here is also a system which I want to just solve. So then the question is, okay, what is the complexity of this solving this, finding this or solving this? Okay, now you can think about it. Okay, so now what I'm trying to say here is, I am trying to transform this problem into another problem because of something. I'll tell you why. Okay, maybe I'm looking for some other codes as well. Okay, I mean, I'm thinking of something. Okay, let us do this and let's see what happens. Okay, let us do this. Let us see whatever we have done. Can we transform this into a new theory, or can I find something new using which probably I'll do again something which is better, let's say. Okay. So what is the dimension of the matrix? So my G G is my matrix, which is of order n by k. So G is 0, 1 to the power k by n. Sorry, k by n, right? I have to multiply from the left. So k by n matrix, and so with k linearly independent rows, k linearly independent rows. Okay. Now, now, suppose I construct a new matrix. Okay, okay. What is my matrix G? So this is this is P and IK. Why I'm writing IK? Because I know that it's dimension K. So dimension of this will be clear because I know dimension of G. So this is K times N. So yeah. So now let us construct a new matrix. Okay. And let us say the matrix is of this form. This new matrix is, let's say, I'll call it H. Okay, so this is my construction of a new matrix. My new matrix, let me say it is kind of H. Okay, matrix H, which I'll define I n minus k and the same P, but P transpose here. Now, what did I do? So P, dimension of P was what? This dimension of P, this is K times n minus K. So what is the dimension here? P transpose. So this would be n minus K times K, right? So this matrix, H matrix, is actually of dimension n minus K times K. So earlier I had this K by n. Now I construct a new matrix of dimension n minus K by K. And this H can be constructed from G. And how it can be constructed? Because G is defined by P and H is also defined by P. So I have this structure, let's say identity 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, and so on, 0, 0, 0, 1. And the rest are like transpose of P. So the way I had written P here, okay, I have to take a transpose of this matrix. So if I do that, then the rows become columns, column becomes rows. So my first row was P0, 0, P0. So it becomes the first column, P0, n minus K minus 1. And this is my second row, P10, P11, P1, n minus K minus 1. And it is the last row. Here it is in the column, Pk minus 1, 0. And here it is Pk minus 1, n minus K minus 1. Now suppose I construct this matrix, okay, then what happens? What happens to this matrix? Any idea? Anybody wants to say anything? I mean, how this matrix, okay, by definition it is related to J, but I want to relate this matrix with the rows of J, or rows of G. Okay, let me write the G matrix here again, okay, so that you can see it. Okay. So, so the left hand matrix was this one. G matrix was this one. P00, P01, P0, n minus K minus 1, P10, P11, P1, n minus K minus 1, and pk minus 1 0, pk minus 1 1, pk minus 1, n minus k minus 1, and then here it is 1 0 0 0 1 0. Here it is 0 0 1. Now what happens is H as what is the matching point here? I mean, what you should focus here is this part. It has k rows and it has k columns. So somehow, yeah.
Sir, I think H has n columns.
Okay, what is that?
The matrix H has n columns total.
Oh yeah. So this is n minus k, and this was what is that? K. So this is n, right? Okay, yeah, sure. So you should focus on So you should focus on this n and this n actually. Okay, you should focus on this. So what can you say about that? Number of columns here with the number of columns, this is matching. So can you somehow associate this with that one? Yeah, I did a mistake there. Okay, first of all, this matrix H, it also has linearly independent rows. And G, it also has linearly independent rows. My code words are nothing but the row space of G. Okay, I mean, the code words forms a row space of G. Okay. So what I'm trying to tell you is this dimension matches. This dimension of this and this dimension matches. This dimension of this matches. So that means I can make scalar product with the rows of H with the rows of G. I can do that. Okay, because they have same number of columns. Now, can you find any connection between the rows of G and the rows of H? Suppose you multiply the first row of G with the first row of H. What do you get? What do you get? Multiply first row of G. Multiply is taking the scalar product, okay, or the inner product. First row of G and first row of H. What do you get?
2p00.
2p00, right? But what is 2p00? What is p00? P00 either 0 or 1, right? So if p00 is 0, then 2 times 0 is 0. And if p00 is 1, then 2 times 1 is 2, which is again 0. Because we are talking about finite field 0, 1. So the addition means 1 plus 1 means 2 is equal to 0 there. So first row of G, okay, and first row of H, okay, they are orthogonal. Okay. Let us multiply first row of H with the second row of G. What do we get? First row of H with second row of G. What do I get? So multiply this one with this one. What do we get?
Again 0.
Again 0. In fact, you will see all the rows of G, okay, are orthogonal to the rows of H. So you pick any. So let's pick observe. So observe that, okay, the ith row Okay, observe. Okay, let me write it this. Observe that gi vector and hj vector to take a dot product. This will be nothing but pij plus pij, which is equal to 0, where gi is the ith row of G and hj bar is the jth row of H. Okay. So that means what is happening? We get the following. G, to make this matrix multiplication, this will be equal to 0. G times H transpose. Why H transpose? Because I have to multiply. This is a matrix multiplication. Because here row multiplies with the column. And G transpose, it means the first column is the first row of H. And I know the rows are orthogonal. So I have to take G times H transpose. And then this is equal to 0. Okay, and this is true for equal to 0 for all ij. So ij is like from equal to k, and there are n minus k, 0. Right? So what can I say? The row space is the code word, and row space is orthogonal to the rows of H. So what I can say is the following. I can say that an n tuple V is a code word, okay, in a code C, okay, which is generated by, let's say, G, okay, if and only if V times H transpose is equal to 0. This is my conclusion. So another way to look at the set of code words is nothing but the null space of H. Because what is V? The code word, it is in the range, the row space of G, because it is the linear combination of the rows of G. And I know that every row of G, okay, is orthogonal to the rows of H. Okay. So V is a linear combination of the rows of G, and then you multiply V with G H transpose. H transpose means the columns of H transpose are nothing but the rows of H transpose. So if you take V, so this is V. V is a row vector. This is V. And then when there is H transpose, it means the rows of H are the columns of H transpose. So every vector here, okay, is orthogonal to all the columns here, okay, because the columns are the rows of H and which are orthogonal from here or from here, okay, which are orthogonal. So it means this is true. So this is another way to look at my code words, okay. So the code words which form or which is the row space of G, okay, is same as saying the code words, okay, form, okay, the null space of H. Why the null space of H? Now see, V times H transpose equal to 0. It means H times V transpose equal to 0. Okay, so same thing, null space. I mean, take transpose both sides. That is what I'm saying. So, so forms the null space of. So the forms the null space of, and this matrix H, okay, which we'll use later on, okay, is called, so H is called the parity check matrix or a parity check matrix. Okay. Okay. Now you see the rows of H. How many rows are there in H? N minus K. And this N minus K rows are also linearly independent. Here you see all the rows of this is also linearly independent. So that means using H and using its row space, you can also generate a code. But the dimension of the code in that case will be N minus K. And this code is called a dual code of the original code. Okay. So, okay, let me first write the code whose generator matrix is G is called NK code, right? NK code. So you are generating n numbers, I mean n length sequences from k length sequences. Now from here, since H has n minus k linearly independent rows, okay, the row space of H, the dimension of H is n minus k, and the row space, okay, forms row space from a code. Okay, a code means n minus k code, or you can say, yeah. No, here I think H, what was that? H n, right? Yeah, here it is not k, it is n. So it is n minus k code. I mean, I should write it like this. This is n minus k linear code. Okay. And this code, okay. So this code, okay. Okay, is called the dual code. I have to give it a name actually. Okay, it's called encode. Let us denote it by C, called the dual code of C, the code C, and it is denoted as C and D. C, D stands for dual. Okay, so once I have a code, this matrix is H is called the parity matrix or parity checking matrix. Okay, so I have a generator matrix G from which I create a new matrix H, and the code words corresponding to G, the generator matrix G, okay, forms the null space of the parity matrix H, and then we have this. Okay. I mean, there is a different interpretation using the parity check matrix. Now let us go back to the equation. Okay, let us, because I need to know what V is, right? Let us go back to this, the equation V times H transpose equal to 0. So if that is the case, so this will give me a set of linear equations. So H is here. Okay, if you take the linear transform, if you take the transpose of this, first will become the first column. Okay, so yeah, so depending on whatever the value of V is, okay, so this will be the first row, will be the first column. Second, so I'm just checking because I have to write this first column, first row. So yeah, so if you write V times H transpose to be equal to 0, then what you'll have is the following: Vj plus U naught P0j plus U1 P1j plus dot 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 plus UK minus 1 Pk minus 1 j is equal to 0 for j is from 0 to up to n minus k. Okay, and you will see that this is nothing but the parity check equations which you had here. So mathematically we didn't change anything. Okay, this parity check equation here, parity check equation. Mathematically we didn't change anything basically. Okay, just rearrange the terms and you can see that. So we can say, so conclusion is that the n minus k that where we started with linear block code, okay, linear code is or can be completely determined by the parity check matrix. So either you know, okay, parity check matrix. So either you know the generator matrix or the parity matrix. This is the same thing. Okay. So if you want to create the code from G, then you take the row space. If you want to create the code from the linear block code from the parity matrix H, then you take the null space of H. Okay. Now let us see. Okay. If there is an error, okay, during the transmission, then can we detect the error? And if we can detect the error, and what is the way to rectify that error? Okay. So what, just to recall, we had the scale length binary digits. From here, we use either the generator matrix or we use the parity check matrix in order to create. So for generator matrix, the row space, and here the null space. So here we create this. Now we want to pass through this channel, and here there are two parts. This is the k part, and this is the n minus k part, the parity part. Now we want to pass through. We want to pass this through a channel. Okay, so there is a channel here. Now let us see. What do I get if there is an error occurs? I mean, if there is an error occurred, whether we can catch it, we can detect it or not using this code, the way we develop the code mechanism. And if we catch the error, if we detect the error, then whether we can have a method, okay, to rectify the error using these matrices, the way we generated the code, G or H. Okay. Okay, so now the thing is, let me say this is U, this is where we started with, this is V, and here we'll get something called R. Okay, so my standard notation is started from U, then so this is in 0, 1 to the power k, then we got V, which is in 0, 1 to the power n, and then we got R. R is the output of V bar, which is in again 0, 1 to the power n, and we want to see what is happening. So basically we are focusing on this part for the time being. Okay, so let us write, because this part is done, the other part is done, how to get V bar from U bar. So V bar is, let's say, V naught V1 dot 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 n minus 1, and R bar is, let's say, R0 R1 Rn minus 1. Okay. Now, if V bar is equal to R bar, then there is nothing to do. Okay, so you got it. Okay, so there is no error. Of course, there is no error. Okay, but does it mean that there is no error? That's the question. Second thing is, if I want to, since the channel is noisy, okay, so then R bar can be different from V bar. Okay, so since the channel is noisy, okay, R bar, okay, need not be equal to V bar. Okay, then I can define this addition. You can take the subtraction also, but since it is modulo 2 operation, it does not mean whether you write plus or minus. Then I can define a vector, error vector, which is R plus V. So this, if I take, then it will have something like E0, E1, this is En minus 1. Okay. And what is EI? EI will be equal to 1 if Ri is not equal to Vi, and this is equal to 0 if Ri is equal to Vi. So, and this vector is called the error vector. So I would know, okay, that if R is different from V or not, okay, then I'll assume if they're same, so error must be equal to 0. If they are not same, there must be at least one in. So if E bar is non-zero vector, let's say, then I'll say there is an error. There is an error, and if the number of, there may be multiple positions where there is one, okay, in different positions of E bar, and the number of ones in E bar is called the transmission error. Transmission error, okay, due to the channel noise. Channel noise. So yeah, so now we'll try to see whether we'll be able to detect the error, and if it is detectable, if it is detected, then can we rectify that? This is what we're going to check, and maybe we'll do it tomorrow. Okay, if you have any question, you can ask me.